Spring ball is in the books now for week 2, meaning we're already moving along quickly. So let's give out some grades for a couple of the big positions and talk about some of Kyle Whittingham's comments on the weeks on today's Locked On Utes.
You are Locked On Utes, your daily podcast on the Utah Utes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for making Locked On Utes your first listen every single day. We are available on all platforms, including YouTube and wherever you may get your podcast. If this is your first time listening to our show, make sure you like and subscribe. Love interacting with all of you in the YouTube comments as well as on social media, where you can follow our show at Locked On Utes. Today's episode of Locked On Utes is brought to you by our friends at Nissan. With Nissan, you know that there are just the kind of drivers that like to push things a little further. And you ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? That's why you need to take the Nissan Rogue, the Nissan Pathfinder, or the Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. You can check them all out today at nissanusa.com. My name is JG Wistrcill, former intern inside the University of Utah Athletic Department. Excited to be joined on today's show by Nathan Roderick of UteZone.com. And Nate, it's crazy to think we are already at this point in spring ball where we have 2 weeks in the books already. It's been fun to watch everything play out and go along with all the craziness that has kind of ensued. So I thought it'd be fun to give out some little quick grades of midterms of what we've seen so far from the various position groups. Let's start with the one that draws all the headlines, quarterbacks. Quarterbacks, I'm going to go A+. Maybe it's a little bit of a lot because there's still a backup quarterback situation to figure out. I like the two candidates we got there, and it's been great seeing Cam Rising healthy. So to me, I am going to go an A+ because I feel great about Cam. He's one of the best quarterbacks in college football, and I feel like we have two backup quarterbacks, which I will remind people who got all mad at Bryson Roses last year. When I go backup quarterback, I go a guy that can come in and win a game for Utah, like what Bryson Barnes was able to do for Utah back in 2022, going against Washington State. I just need my backup to be able to do something like that. I feel like Utah's got two capable backups of doing that. And of course, they have the guy at quarterback.
Yeah, I think I feel pretty good about the quarterback room, moving forward. It's great to have Cam back. I think he brings just a different energy to this team. I think Jim Harding said this last week to Andy Ludwig. There was a quote. He said that things just feel a little bit different. It's nice to be back or something of that sort. And it, makes everybody click and everybody move a little bit faster when Cam's out there. And as far as the backup situation goes, I think best case scenario is that you feel comfortable with a guy like Brandon Rose and have like an emergency quarterback and Luke Batari. And then hopefully Isaac Wilson can, learn a lot in the booth, and on the scout team, this year, while still giving Brandon Rose, a run for his money, for that backup position. But I think it's of everybody's best interest, to keep Isaac off the field for this year, to let him redshirt, but really impressed with what they've done so far. And interested to see if they maybe go after someone in the portal after spring ball to see maybe a veteran.
Okay, Mike.
Maybe, and it's possible. To have one more guy in the room that maybe someone is experienced or is a grad transfer, just someone else there that's available. Obviously, Luke Batari is nice to have there as an emergency quarterback, like he stepped in last year, but feeling pretty good about this group so far.
Yeah, he threw 10 passes the one game, so I do know what you mean by that. So
emergency quarterback, yep.
Yes. So I went A+. Like I said, I feel good about the guys in the room. Where would you go? Because you're talking about potentially adding someone else. So you not as high?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, it's tough. You can only see so much right now spring ball. I would say B+. I think they're still, I think we don't know exactly what we have in Brandon Rose. We just know what we've heard from coaches and maybe seen some practice clips. I think we don't really know exactly what we have until we see him actually on the fields.
I'm going to be interested to see. I feel a little better about Rose just because of he was almost the backup last year. I've said before too, even if he didn't get hurt, I think Bryson would have beat him out. So I feel like he'll be ready for it, but I know what you mean. I am basing that based on reports and a couple of things in spring ball. I'm basing none of that on what we've seen live in a game. And that's what the coaches have to weigh too. So I like that. I think that's absolutely could be the case. I want to stick with some positive grades and vibes though. So I'm going to go to tight ends. I'm going to go A-. The only thing that's holding it back to me is an A+ is we haven't actually seen Carson Ryan yet, but I mean, Brant Keithy being back is tremendous. And I really love Landon King. I think I could maybe go just an A for Mickey Sugataraga's potential blocking, but just Brant Keithy potentially being the best tight end in college football, which he has that potential, and Carson Ryan and King's combination of what I expect them to become the fall, I'd still go an A- for them.
All right. I think last year we saw glimpses of what Landon King can do.
Yes.
And I think we saw that with Bryson Barnes at quarterback. And I think his role will even expand this year. And things are going to open up a lot more for him. It'll be a crowded room as far as the touches are concerned with Carson Ryan, Brant Keithy, and Landon King. But I think all of them have three different skill sets that complement each other. I see, Carson Ryan, more as a guy that can get you 5 to 10 yards, and then Landon King, a little bit more athletic, a little bit quicker,
Yep.
and I think Brant Keithy will play a lot of slot receiver as well. And I like the potential of this group. I'm going to stick with A-. I think with this group moving forward. Great depth. I hope that Miki Sugataranga can improve a little bit with the blocking. You see guys like Logan Kendall from the 2022 squad and the expectations he had and how well he performed in that role. You are hoping for something similar with Miki. He had a slower start to the year last year, but honestly, everybody didn't have the best year last year on the offensive side of the ball. And I think Cam Rising will help him out.
No, they did not have the best year, and let's move on to a group that I think part of that was due to the injuries. Jaquindon Jackson, often not himself because he was hampered. Mekhi Bernard missing most of the year. State of the running backs right now, we haven't gotten to see Anthony Woods much yet, but look, with Mekhi Bernard, we've already heard reports. He's shown some nice flashes in the spring. Mitchell emerging, great sign. I know Jalen Glover is really consistent when called upon and needed to be, and Woods is coming off a 1,000-yard rushing season in Idaho. Yes, Idaho and Utah are different places. It's still a nice back to have because you don't have the guy right now. So I will hold it back from going an A, but I really like the four names that have already been brought up. I'm going to go B+ here.
Yeah, just like similar like we talked about with tight ends, I would say all four of those guys have different skill sets. I think, Jalen Glover's your closest thing to an every down back at this point, but we've heard all camp and all offseason that Mike Mitchell is the next dude out of this room. And when Kyle Whittingham singles out guys in his post practice comments, that guy is going to be really good, especially when he hasn't seen the field yet in a Utah uniform. I think he's a guy that can really emerge as a RB1 for this crew. I like Mekhi Bernard and his skill set, and he's a guy that excelled a lot with Cam, with swing passes and everything. Jalen Glover, he's nice in between the tackles. And then you have Anthony Woods, who's a slasher, and he's fast and can get around the edge. And so I think you have a lot of different skill sets that complement this group. But then you saw a lot of injuries last year. So I'm going to go B+ for the running backs.
I like it. We'll keep it going. Looking at the wide receivers now. This is an interesting one because I love Dorian Singer and what he showed so far. So I'm really high on him. But the thought of Money Parks, and I feel like this is where it's tough because I feel like Money at times was hurt by the quarterback situation. So it's like him, Near McLean. I'm excited that Micah Pittman has also shown flashes too. I'm going to say this. For other schools, I don't know, like if you who depend on their wide receiver core for everything, this is not an A group. For what Utah wants them to do, you have a deep threat. You have Micah Pittman and Munir McLean. Both guys I think are capable of making plays. And you have a number one receiver to me. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go an A- for the wide receivers for how I feel right now about what they'll be asked to do in the offense. Optimistic, my grade? Yes. Do they have the potential to exceed that and be the best wide receiver group we've seen from Utah in the last few years? Also absolutely the case, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you saw some glimpses last year. There were so many times last year it felt like guys were running free in the secondary, and there just wasn't nor the time nor the quarterback to get them the ball, specifically Money Parks. So you lose Mikey Matthews to the portal, and you lose Devon Bailey to the draft, but you replace him with guys like Dorian Singer, Micah Pittman, who we didn't see at all last year besides the Florida and Baylor game. And then you have guys like Tayshawn Lyons come in from Washington who have a lot of potential. There's a couple of younger guys, David Washington, Dadrian Zipperer, who have shown flashes in practice as well. So there's, as far as like potential and hype, there's a lot of hype and potential, within this receiver room. And it felt like last year it was like Devon Vele, had his flashes at some points, but they weren't very consistent. And, I'm going to give the group the benefit of the doubt with the quarterback and the O-line play and all the above. But I feel really confident in this group. And I think that Andy Ludwig has a lot of weapons to go after. And there's a lot of guys like Munir McClain who showed glimpses last year of him high pointing the ball in the end zone, for example, and Money Park running those long, skinny posts. I think there's a lot of potential in this group. I'm going to go B right now just because we haven't seen it on the field yet. But there's so much potential. And you love that Cam Rising is going to be the one that's delivering them the ball this year because of the command that he has on the offense and how well he can read a defense.
Yep, love the potential of this group. And I want to talk about our final group. We have to grade the offensive linemen with all of you in one moment. But first, I want to talk to you about one of the sponsors of today's episode of Locked On Utes in our friends at Manscaped. When you're talking about Manscaped, where this episode is brought to you by Spring Cleaning Champions, Manscaped this season makes sure to groom your carpets and the drapes with the leaders in below-the-waist grooming. Clear out the winter bush with Manscaped Lawnmower 5.0 and watch your confidence bloom this springtime flower. Embrace the season and join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our special offer. You can go to manscaped.com and use code LOCKEDON for 20% off free shipping. And after using Manscaped, you can finally say that you've caught that spring fever. And they're introducing the Spring Champs Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. This is a feature that also has dual LED spotlights to guide you through the darkest winter debris. Navigate with confidence in your delicate areas. Hate making a mess? Not to worry. This bad boy is waterproof. Shave in the shower, in the bathroom, or in the ocean either. Whether you're looking to craft your signature look or clean up the neckline, there is always the right tool for you. So you can get 20% off free shipping with code LOCKEDON. It's all caps, no spaces at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with code LOCKEDON at manscaped.com. Nothing like a little spring cleaning in your pants. Now, want to talk to you guys about another sponsor of our episode of Locked On Utes here. It's our great friends at Gametime. When you're talking about Gametime, you're talking about the number one place to find and buy tickets. And that is where they also take the stress out of it. You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event, whether it is sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. They have great last minute deals, all on price views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. Gametime can take the guesswork out of buying tickets for you today. You can see all of their great features like a view from your seat you're going to get, finding last minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals, all of them available at Gametime. You can buy tickets in seconds with just 2 steps. All the prices shown are total up front, so you know you're getting a great deal before you check out. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event, even an hour after it starts. This is the place to find last-minute tickets. Also, that Gametime guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section or row for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. So download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off today. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Nathan, coming back in quickly. We got to grade our final position before we talk about Kyle Whittingham and some of his quotes throughout the week. The offensive line. This is the one I'll give my lowest grade to so far. I will go a B. I liked what I saw from Fano last year, but still want to see that improvement. He's moving to the right side. I really am excited for Caleb Lomu. I haven't seen him play yet. Coley did some nice things at center. Mokafisi has been a roller coaster the past few years. Then you got that other guard spot kind of yet to be determined still and figured actually, or excuse me, it's Tongai is currently in there as well, which I liked what he did at tackle, but how is he going to work at guard? There was a lot of up. I thought there was mostly ups last year, but still some dips by the offensive line group. So I'm good with the 5. In Jim Harding we trust, but I'm going to have questions until I see them together in a game.
Yeah, I think that's a fair grade, moving forward for this group, and until we see it change, right? And so we saw them struggle at points last year. They were dealt a really tough hand and saw many boxes where there were 7, 8 guys, sometimes, and it was a really tough job for them last year. What gives me hope for this group is back in 2021, Cam Rising took over for Charlie Brewer, and the offensive line at that point in time, hadn't done well. They did a complete 180 as soon as Cam Rising took the lead for this offense. And so I know it's easy just to talk about Cam and his potential, but he makes so much makes
He
everybody
does.
better around him, especially the offensive line. He makes their job easy. He's the one going up there, making the reads and calling out blitzers. And so it makes everybody's job easier. We're going to stick with a B. I'll tell you what, Caleb Lomu is the guy to watch in this group, and he's a newcomer, but the coaches have raved about him ever since he's been in the program, and he'll have a great shot to start this season.
He does have a great opportunity to start, and let's see how he does in it because it feels like he's the front runner for it. So something to keep an eye on for sure. Now I want to talk about some of the interesting comments that Kyle Whittingham had on the week. Yes, we did our midterms just for the offensive side of the ball. We're going to be discussing the defensive side of the ball on Monday's show, so make sure you guys join us for that as we dive into the midterm grades. Diving into Kyle Whittingham's quotes, you guys can find these on the Utah Athletics website. He was talking about the practice earlier this week. I thought this was an interesting one where he just said it was the first day in full pads and our first live work of camp. We definitely have a lot to work out. Then he's going to do the coach speak thing where he talks about how they're not where they want to be and all of that stuff that we're used to Coach Whittingham kind of doing. But I'll just say this. How awesome is it to have the pads back and popping? It's something that always got me excited back when I played, and more so, it just means you're getting closer. Things are ramping up, and this is when you see who's really gotten it, right? It's one thing to do it in shorts, another thing to do it when you throw on the pads, and especially, we just talked about the offensive line. Let's see how they hold up against a unit that were a defensive line and just a front seven that returns almost all of its contributors except for the top pass rusher. That was a top 5 run defense in the country last year.
Yeah, I think what's really exciting is that I feel like the coaches can be a little bit more aggressive in the springtime as well and kind of see who they have moving forward. And in fall camp, you do want to be a little bit more conservative because of the risk of injury right before the season. But I think it's a great time for freshmen and guys to earn a spot. At this point in time, coaches want to see what they have, and because after spring ball, and the transfer portal is going to open again. And guys are going to be hopping in, and Utah's going to be looking at some guys. So it's a great opportunity for people to really prove what they have. And it's nice to see that they are going hard at this point in time just to give themselves live looks. And I know the coaches take it really serious at Utah, and especially having such a high quality defense to go up against each year in practice, it makes everybody better.
It definitely does. And it's exciting to see that iron sharpening iron for Utah. And one thing that's also interesting that Coach Whittingham talked about was Isaac Wilson. He said that Isaac is looking really good. He's making the transition to Power 5 football very well. And that should say Power 4, of course, because that's what it now is. But Coach Whittingham's still getting used to it like we all are in saying it. I know I've made the mistake multiple times on my own show, of course. But he just continued. He doesn't get overwhelmed by the speed of the game or the complexity of the offense. He has assimilated the offense. He's getting quality reps. Him and Brandon Rose are splitting the number 2 reps. And it's a good battle going on. Coach Whittingham's not someone who plays freshmen easily. He did so to Mikey Matthews, I remember. And, of course, Mikey would go on to have a nice little role with this team last year. So I think it's a great sign for Wilson's early development that he's already in the midst of this battle, Nathan.
Yeah, and it shows a lot. They're already giving him that, the ball with the twos, in spring ball. It shows that he's done his work and preparation up to this point to be able to get those valuable reps in practice. And I think what I've heard is that he's impressed a lot of people during the workouts too. And he's been a leader for these freshmen that are already on campus. And so it shows a lot that, where he wants to be, and that he already wants this group of freshmen, to be led by him. And I'm really impressed that, the size of Isaac too. You see him, like pictures of him during practice, and he fills out his pads. He doesn't look like an 18-year-old kid. And it sounds like he's been putting the work in the film room as well, just to be prepared each day and take all the mental reps. So, when it is time to go full speed in practice, there's not much separation between him and Brandon Rose.
No, there's not at this moment. So it's going to be interesting to see how that situation continues to play out. Last thing that Coach Whitt said that really caught my eye, he was talking about Cam Rising, and just the priority he said was to keep him upright and get him the first game healthy. Of course, he said shaking off some rust, but getting the arm strength back. But he's our leader, and this is what's important. He said it is a whole other field when he is out there. When you talk about his arm, his experience, they trust they have in him not to turn it over. This is where we think Utah's offense could really take its game to the next level. And it's why they can really contend for the Big 12 in year one. I think Big 12 fans get mad all the time when I talk about Utah potentially winning the conference their first year in it. The truth is, I talk about that because of Cam Rising. If Cam Rising was not on this team, I wouldn't say that because of the importance of the quarterback position. Cam Rising is on this team. He's shaken off the rust. He should get back to the player that helped Utah win back-to-back Pac-12 championships, or at least very close to it, if just because of the recovery and how significant those injuries can be. I feel great about Cam, and thus I feel really good about this team.
Yeah, Cam's a gamer, and he's a winner. Ever since he's been at Utah, he just wins games. And I think, if he had to improve on one thing before next season, it'd be his arm strength. And I think, you have guys like Dorian Singer and Money Parks that can push the defense, down the field, and you want a quarterback that can get in the ball. I think that's one thing that Cam can really work on, is being able to get the long ball and have a little bit better arm strength moving forward.
It's going to be fun to see how it all comes together come fall camp, but still got a lot of spring ball to continue to discuss with all of you. So make sure you keep it at Locked On Utes, as next week, as I said, we'll be talking about the defense and all the latest happening up on the hill as it relates to football, but also want to discuss some gymnastics stuff as the Pac-12 tournament is coming up this weekend. And of course, the Red Rocks have a great opportunity to once again repeat as Pac-12 champions. Want to dive into all of that with all of you in one moment. But first, I want to talk to you about one of the sponsors of today's episode of Locked On Utes, in our great friends at Nissan. This week's March Madness bracket highlight is brought to you by our friends at Nissan. Each week, we're picking one team that stands out, a team that's pushed it further than the rest. Just like all of the new 2024 Nissan SUVs, these guys were able to take it to the next level. The Yukon Huskies can only be described as the Armada. This top-seeded team is as hardcore as it gets. So it's no wonder they've landed the top overall seed in the NCAA tournament. They're one of our favorites to win it all, despite 4 of the Power 6 conference champions standing in their way in their own East region. Hard to bet against Dan Hurley after what he and the Huskies accomplished just a year ago, too, as NCAA men's basketball tournament champions. So make sure you guys take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. You can shop NissanUSA.com today. Also want to talk to you all about another one of our sponsors at Locked On Utes, our great friends at UCCU. Here's some exciting news. UCCU has just elevated their checking accounts by enhancing them with more benefits, more savings, and more online protections than ever before. A lot more. Paired with the most advanced and comprehensive mobile banking tools, Elevated Checking is a must-have financial product packed with lifestyle security and financial benefits. The lifestyle benefits alone include cell phone protection, roadside assistance, telehealth with 24/7 access to licensed health professionals with zero copay and exclusive savings on travel, shopping, and dining. And Elevated Checking is free when you do any one of the following: use your debit or credit card 15 times or more a month, or make a monthly direct deposit of $500 or more and maintain an average daily balance of $1,500. Otherwise, UCCU Elevated Checking is only $6 a month. You can visit UCCU.com to open an Elevated Checking account online or stop by any branch to open an account. UCCU. Love where you bank. Nathan, let's close this one out by talking about some gymnastics. The Red Rocks took care of business in their final regular season meet and a little try meet. They took on top 25, ranked literally 25, Stanford and Utah State. Utah emerged victorious against both the Cardinal and the Aggies, scoring 198-300 to 195-225 for Utah State and 196-500 for Stanford. Mention a nice tune-up for Utah, too, especially as, yes, they took care of business against Arizona, but was it a strange loss for them to fall to Cal, even though Cal is ranked third? So, talking about Cal and the competition they provide, UCLA, a top-ranked team, right? And so it's going to be a fun Pac-12 tournament. But look, when it comes to the Pac-12 tournament, it's hard for me to pick against the Red Rocks. Championship experience usually rises to the top. Whether we're talking about Jaden Rucker, Miley O'Keefe, there's just so many different individuals at all of these different events we could dive into that have had a ton of success. And when the lights are the brightest, there's a reason that Utah has won so many Pac-12 championships. The standard is the standard, and the Utah gymnastics program has continually raised the bar. So why would I not think going into this weekend that they won't come away with the hardware?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing going into this weekend is that Utah's coming off their highest score for the season at 198.3. And so it's great that they're
Yes, no, it's absolutely tremendous, to your point, Nathan, of what you're talking about with this team. What they've been able to accomplish and do is immense, because it's the excellence. It's what Utah has continued to bring, what they've continued to provide,
meet for
and
them.
everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah, what were you
it's
saying,
basically a
Nathan?
home meet for them, which is also helps a lot. And so really looking forward to what they bring, and they're getting hot at the right time.
They are getting hot at the right time. We can't wait to see what they will be able to accomplish, and a great opportunity for you guys to go and support them. The Pac-12 championships are in West Valley City, Utah. That's the Maverick Center. So make sure you guys head over March 23rd, this Saturday at 6 p.m. and check them out. That is going to do it for our show today. Nathan, if people want more Utah content, where should they head over to?
Yeah, go to the guys at UteZone. Steve always has the latest and greatest updates with Utah football and basketball. Transfer portal for basketball is opening up, and so lots of good information there with spring ball as well. So it's kind of your one-stop shop after you listen to Locked On Utes. When you're scrolling through work, make sure you go to 247 Sports to get the best content.
Nathan, thank you for joining us. Great stuff.
Thank you, JT.
That's going to do it for today's edition of Locked On Utes. A reminder, next week we'll be talking about the men's and women's teams in the tournament, whether it's the actual NCAA tournament or the NIT for the men's team, talking about football, everything going up there, the outcome of gymnastics, maybe some baseball or softball. You never know on Locked On Utes, but I do know that will do it for us this week. So thank you again, and we'll see you next week. Have a great weekend, everyone.